Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Hey, welcome to this episode of the Note Closure Show on Money Mondays here. And hopefully you had a great Easter weekend. It's hard to believe that we are already halfway through April or two-thirds of the way through April. Um, Today's episode, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little tired. The last week has been a little bit stressful here. Um, I didn't spend the last 4 or 5 days doing anything really fun. I was basically assisting my better half who was in the hospital, had to have a little bit of emergency surgery. And so we went in Thursday afternoon, expecting to do a little outpatient thing, and ended up spending 4 days in jail and checked out last night at 6 o'clock. So a little tired, but it gave me some insight because I've had quite a few friends in the note industry, investors and people that are struggling with health issues, cancer, death, and I didn't want this episode to be morbid, but I thought I would discuss some of the things that you have to do to prepare yourself in case if something happens to you or your loved one and stuff like that. And so that's what I wanted to talk about with this episode. Are you prepared for the worst? And by the worst, a lot of us as entrepreneurs, we think about, oh, a deal goes south, the deal doesn't make as much money, I've got to foreclose instead of being a loan mod, or something bad happens to the asset. There's a lot of people in the multifamily space who are struggling right now because of all the distress out there. And that's not necessarily what I'm diving into. I'm talking about the fact, I'll give you an example. We had an investor, a coaching, not a coaching student, but he was a monthly membership student. He'd bought a few notes, gotten old, and was fighting cancer. He's in his 80s. Wayne was his name, private investor in one of our deals. And he passed away. He had lung cancer and passed away. And I get he let me know, notified me that he was struggling with this. And I was like, that's fine. We were paying him on his quarterly payments as we're working through this deal, and he was happy with that. And he bought some other notes and was doing well with that. But then I get a phone call from his wife about Wayne passing. And I'm like, okay, and she's aware what he did. She wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of real estate. She didn't have that background, but it was kind of funny because she said, well, there's as many photos or images of me in his phone for taking screenshots or saving images of deals that of his grandkids, which is kind of nice. Wayne was just a great guy. I absolutely miss him in a lot of cases. And his wife is absolutely just a wonderful person. But she was knowledgeable that he was in deals, but didn't know where everything was at. And so we spent some time going through. So, well, here's his one deal he's got with us. Is there any other deals? Let's, look in his email, look for any receipts or anything like that from like servicing companies. And lo and behold, he had already liquidated the other four assets, and it was just this one. And she was completely fine with us, like, hey, just keep making quarterly payments to me. When you sell the asset, we'll do it. And so it was good. We went through the foreclosure, we fixed up and sold it, and she was very happy and getting paid off, and has moved on. That's a good thing where she's informed. Recently, we've had another student of ours, actually a coaching student out of Houston, Joe, pass away from cancer, an older guy, but his wife and two kids, she really doesn't know what he has. She's not in the real estate space. She's in the nursing space. And I noticed that when I was reaching out to Joe, because I saw that he had a couple notes available for sale on a platform, because I recognize LLC. It's unique. I've known Joe for years. He went through our one-on-one coaching, and we bought notes, or we get some other coaches to buy notes from him, vice versa. Well, I saw those, and I had reached out to him, and we're friends on Facebook, and suddenly I see that his wife had posted that he'd passed away after his long fight. And I know that he was struggling with cancer. And I immediately think about, oh my gosh, what about these four assets that are on this platform that he'd been trying to sell? And we'd gone back and forth, exchanged emails, me and Joe back and forth on a couple of our students bidding on stuff. And he was like, well, these are three performing and one non-performing, three contract for deeds and one mortgage. And he's trying to sell at 12% yield. I was like, that's fine. Let's find somebody to help you move it, or let's find an investor that was looking for that stuff. Well, I go back to the platform and they're not listed on there anymore. They're removed. And that's not a good thing. And I don't know how they got removed, if he took them down before everything happened, or he just didn't renew the paperwork or something like that from the platform. I don't know exactly what happened with that. But I reached out to his wife. They didn't have a funeral planned yet. It was going to be about another week or two before the funeral took place. So I reached out to his sister-in-law and just introduce. I mean, I sent a message to his wife, but we weren't friends on Facebook, and so it was a message. So I reached out to, like I said, his sister-in-law, and she's like, "No problem. We'll pass on your information. We're here to help." Unfortunately, I couldn't make it to the funeral because I was sick as a dog with a cold. But um, about a week or two passed, and his wife reached out to me, and she's like, "I'm not sure of what properties it is. I'm still trying to figure it all. It's all in probate." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, is there, you know, um, any instructions?" And she goes, "No, Joe didn't leave really any instructions about what he had," which is just, oh, so they're going through the whole process. There's no will. I don't believe there's a will, but there's nothing clearly outlined to his wife of what he had or has. And so I sent over the tape with the four assets of what I knew about, and she's like, "Okay, thank you very much." And I said, "Listen, I'm here to help. If you need some help moving these assets, I'm glad to do it. You know, um, we're we don't need to make a commission from you. We can make a commission from whoever buys it from to help maximize it, because it's honestly about $200,000 in potential profits. Okay, to them, that's a chunk of change. It's somewhere between 100 and well, it's over $220,000 in UPB. So depending on if they're performing, when you can get that's a sizable chunk of money to have tied up in stuff that you don't know about, right? And she's not a real estate investor. She's got these and is like, "I'm willing to, yeah, I'm definitely going to reach out to you to help. And that's what I want to do. I want to help. I want to help her get these things moved. I want to help put money in their pocket and help them out." And one of our recent coaching students, Sterling, asked me exactly what do we have in place when something happens. And if you're brand new to real estate investing, you've got one rental property or you get your primary residence, that's pretty easily outlined to what's going to go through. But you need to notify your spouse and your family of what exactly you have and have available. Hopefully you have a spreadsheet of the assets that you have available. You want to update that on an annual basis and clear with them. And if your wife or spouse isn't familiar with notes or real estate, when something happens, you want to give her somebody, a point of contact that can reach out to. And that's all that I was offering up. It's like, "Listen, I'm here to help you. Let me help you move these. Let me help you out there. I'm not, if you know what you're doing, great, by all means. If you don't, I'm here to act as a resource for you and Joe, especially now that Joe's gone." And what you should have in place is a will. You should have some sort of, a file folder of something, everything that you have, notes, performing, point of contacts, some instructions on that. Like what I have in my portfolio is, if something were to ever happen to me, Steph knows enough to reach out to Joel Markovitz, who's been a friend for years, knows the note business, stuff like that. And Joe will help her liquidate. That's a thing that Joe and I have already agreed about. Same thing, if something happens to Joe and Donna needs help, his wife needs help with liquidating stuff, I'm the guy that she reaches out to help move that stuff, to help liquidate it, to help the family out in need. Sometimes they don't need a casserole. They need somebody to help take action and take over things. One of the biggest things you can also have if you're using other people's money is have a life insurance policy. A lot of companies have what's called key man policies. I have a key man policy on me. In case something happens, it pays off everything and puts money in Steph's pocket so that she's A-okay, is taken care of, and then can sell the assets off as need be, and then our investors are taken care of. And that's not too difficult. If it doesn't need to be a 40, 50-year policy, maybe it's just a 10-year term policy. Mine's not a 10-year term. It's a term policy, but I believe it's 20, 30 years based on my age when I took it out. Okay. And that's actually acts as a important thing to provide to investors too. If you're getting older, say, "Listen, I have a insurance policy that's in something happens to me, I die, I pass away, get hit by a bus or car, get sick and die. I've got a policy here that's not only going to take care of my spouse and family, but it's also going to take care of paying off any investors that are out there." All right. And that's a really important thing. You definitely want to have some sort of trust. Asset protection is very key and important to making sure that your family is taken care of, and handling of the assets and keeping things out of probate as best as you can. Putting your assets into a trust is good. Having some sort of living trust, medical power of attorney or power of attorney before now. I mean, in the case of somebody passing away, the power of attorney is eliminated, but having a medical power of attorney to make an act on your behalf in case you're incapacitated and can't talk in the hospital is important. having instructions of what happens to assets and things. Having somebody you trust, like with my mom. My mom's getting a little bit older. My sister is lives down in Corpus Christi and is on all of my mom's bank accounts and knows where everything is at. And I also know where everything is at too, in case of an aspect of let's knock on some wood there, in case something happens to my mom. We know exactly what's to do to take place. And that's the most important thing, is having those conversations. We've got another friend who's struggling right now with cancer and is going through chemo and is a little bit of Swiss cheese. And he's in the note space. And unfortunately, he's just not responding to emails on stuff to get stuff done. So I'm getting people that reach out to me and say, hey, do you know where he is at? Do you know, is he working still? Is he not working stuff? And then it's unfortunate because I've reached out to him and not getting responses back myself. And I've known him for years, about 15 years. So I've reached out to his wife. His wife was very surprised to hear that he's not responding. And trying to help kind of boot him, give him a gentle nudge in the butt to get to respond to people. But when you're going through sickness, cancer, stuff like that, and doctors have told you, hey, you're not going to survive this, that you've got 6 months or a year or 2 years, you can get very depressed in that way. So it's important to share with your spouse exactly what needs to be done, where is everything at. I know a lot of folks, like, the man handles the finances, or there's one person that handles finances and the other spouse doesn't want to know. You need to know. You need to share what's going on and who to talk to and the process and what needs to happen when you're no longer around. All right. Who gets what, is everything set up? And this is not an ad for like Magnify Your Wealth and Lawful Associates, but it really kind of is, because it's important to have that stuff. If you've got like many these days, you've got different people come together, been divorced, they have different assets. Not that you need a prenup, but you do need something to say, hey, if this happens, this transfers to so-and-so. Or if this happens, this goes out to A, B, and C, or this gets paid to A, B, or C. You know what I mean? And if you don't have a plan, and you've not talked about that with your spouse, no matter whether you got one asset or 100 assets, that's really one of the most important conversations you can have. And it's unfortunate, it seems that I'm dealing with that right now, not on my side, but trying to help friends, families, colleagues, investors, not only navigate that right now as they're sick, but also helping folks navigate it after the loved one has passed. And that's a sad day, but it's a good thing that I'm able to here to help them. I take that as a very big responsibility and want to help them. And that's the biggest thing. If you're a note investor out there and you've got a portfolio stuff, whether it's 1 or 100, and your spouse or loved ones aren't necessarily in that business, you need to put something in place of who they need to reach out to, who they need to talk to, what do you have, and put it somewhere that's easy to get, right next to those life insurance policies, your birth certificates and stuff like that. Here's what we have as of such date. That would include maybe the foreclosure attorney, your estate attorney, your servicing companies that handling that, making sure that if something happens to you, that they now have a second point of contact that they will allow to release information to. All that stuff is very important and relevant. And it seems like we are losing a lot of people with death and issues and cancer, stuff like that. Why that's happening is a whole different episode. And this is not meant to be morbid, but I just want you guys to know it needs to be said, and you need to take the time, share, hey, something happens to me, here's where you go to find everything, and here's who you reach out to help you out with that. And if you're one of those folks that has a portfolio and you need help with it, or you know your spouse will need help with it, and you don't know who to reach out to, feel free to reach out to me. I'm glad to help talk with you, help you move that stuff, or be the point of contact to help you make sure that your family's taken care of and your assets are sold or transitioned off or sold off or whatever it is, or help explain what you have to your spouse so that they feel more comfortable and aren't missing out some things. All right. And that's the biggest thing I want this episode to be about, ladies and gentlemen, is that, when you're sick and everybody feels good. Oh, I don't want to talk about death. You need to have those conversations. I can remember having a conversation with my dad 15 years ago before he passed about, he was sick. In his last 2 years, he was kind of sick quite a bit. Didn't feel good. He was, he knew his life was limited. But having those conversations are some of the, not only some of the hardest conversations, but also some of the most fulfilling, knowing that everybody's on the same page. And that's one of the great things about it. When my dad passed, obviously everything just went to my mom, which is fine, but we were there, my sister and my brother and I, to help out as best we can. And when he had a store, and so helping get the store closed, but my mom was fully aware of assets they had, and because they've had that conversation and we knew which route we wanted to go, and we were able to do that pretty effectively. A lot less grief, a lot less family drama that often seems to happen when you have a death in the family. Drama, in some cases. Luckily, some of the folks that we're helping out, they don't have a lot of family drama. They just need help in moving the assets, and that's what we're here to do. But I just wanted to let you know, guys out there, is make sure you cherish your loved ones. If you respect somebody and they're going through a rough time, don't be hesitant to pick up the phone and tell them you care about them and that you're there for them. There's a lot of folks struggling out there right now. I'm not talking financially, health-wise, stuff like that, with different things. Just pick up the phone, call somebody. We always love to hear that and hear from people. And if you are, like I said, if you've got a portfolio, you're looking to move some stuff and you need a point of contact, at somebody that can reach out to, that your spouse or family, to help you move or liquidate a portfolio or help them move it, operate it, whatever, feel free to reach out to me and I'd be glad to be that guy. And you can always book a phone call with me at talkwithscottcarson.com, or you can reach me directly at scott@weclosenotes.com. So, usually Easter's a pretty happy holiday for everybody. I hope everybody had great time with family and church and fellowship and stuff like that. We had something planned, but obviously it didn't happen. So, but we're just glad to be here with our health and rocking and rolling and getting back in the saddle again and off and rocking and rolling here as we get through the rest of April here and move on into the rest of the year. So we're here to help you guys. We do have our upcoming class this coming weekend, this Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Get signed up at notebuyingfordummies.com. That's notebuyingfordummies.com. And let's get you rocking and rolling to the top. And like I said, have that conversation with your family, your loved ones. It's better to have it now versus them trying to figure it out after you're gone. All right. So go out, take some action, buddy, and we'll see you at the top. Bye. Hey, real estate investors, this is Scott Carson. I'm known across the country as a note guy. For the past 20 years, I've been buying distressed assets, primarily non-performing notes on residential commercial properties. And if you've ever wanted to learn how to dive in to start buying non-performing notes from banks, hedge funds, or other investors like yourself, then there's no greater place than to get the nuts and bolts, the A to Z, the 1 through 99 place to get started. It is our virtual note buying workshop. We've been teaching this class since 2010 on how to find, fund, flip non-performing notes, how to get banks to call you with deals that you can cherry pick. And no, you don't need millions. No, you don't need a lot of experience to start looking at non-performing notes. We get lists of notes from banks, hedge funds on a regular basis, not 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, but hundreds of deals that we can evaluate and cherry pick. Whether we're looking for performing notes or non-performing notes that we can get reperforming, or non-performing notes you can foreclose and take back, whatever your niche or whatever you would like to focus on, we can help make it happen at the virtual note buying workshop. It's a 3-day class. Our next one is April 18th to the 20th. It's actually online live via Zoom. You get signed up by going to notebuyingfordummies.com. That's notebuyingfordummies.com. Day 1 is all about how to find these assets. How do you find asset managers? How do you find lists of people to reach out to that you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on postcards or letters that you waste money on? We don't do that. Day 2 is all about raising capital and marketing and how to create a business that feeds itself, that you can do part-time, 10 hours a week, 5 hours a week, depending on what your focus is. We'll show you a game plan to achieve deal flow coming in on autopilot versus you having to send a ton of money. And also, we'll show you how to raise capital like nobody else does. And then day 3 is all about the flip. How do we structure deals? How do we evaluate a tape to find the deals from the duds? All right. We'll show you what vendors to use. We'll give you a 200+ page manual, contracts, sample forms, all the stuff that you need to be a lean, mean note buying machine when you get wrapped up. Now, yes, this is live April 18th through the 20th, online via Zoom. Get signed up today. We'll send you the replays of the previous online workshops so you can start learning, start evaluating material, and get rock and rolling. And if for some reason You don't like our class? We have a 100% money back guarantee involved with it. If at the end of the first day, you don't like what we talk about, you don't think it's impactful, just let me know. We'll refund back your tuition. No questions asked. We don't want your money. We want you to become a note buyer. We want you to become a lien lord. All right. Like I said, if you're tired of dealing with toilet tanks and trash outs, you don't want to deal with renters, then becoming a note investor is the path for you. Everybody evolves into a note investor at some point, but there are plenty of opportunities out there. There are millions of non-performing notes that you can cherry pick. No, it's not all junk. It can be small value all the way up to $1 million homes or $1 million apartments for you. So much opportunity is taking place right now in the chaotic market that we see. And who's going to come out on top? Note investors will. So take the time, get signed up today, April 18th to 20th. Go to notebuyingfordummies.com or go to our website, weclosenotes.com, and sign up for the virtual workshop there. As always, get signed up today. We run discounts all the time. The cost of tuition is you plus your partner or spouse. So get signed up today at notebuyingfordummies.com, and we'll see you at the top. Hey, real estate note investors. This is Scott Carson, the note guy, and I've been an active real estate investor for over 20 years. And for the past 15 years, me and my students relied on one company to help protect our assets and also help to create our LLCs and different entities and business formations and our asset protection to make sure that we're protected and aren't violating the corporate veil. What company is that? That's Laughlin and Associates here. They're out of Reno, Nevada. Huge fan of what they do and the customer service that they provide, not only me, but to my students, not only across the country, but across the world, especially for those looking to start businesses here in the United States, whether you're from Mexico, Canada, overseas. One company you want to reach out to is Laughlin and Associates. Aaron Young has owned this company for quite a few years. Laughlin has been around for over 50 years, and it's really the #1 place for you to set up your LLCs through the Nevada LLCs or Wyoming or Delaware Limited Trust. They're just an amazing company to not only create your LLCs, but also follow up with the regular bookkeeping that you need to make sure that that corporate veil surrounds your business and keeps you safe from ne'er-do-wellers. All right. And like I said, I have been a huge fan of them. We've used them for every LLC, every entity we use, and they do just an amazing job in answering questions and helping to set up also our future, our estate, our Rockefeller plan, our asset protection plan, not only now, but as we evolve and grow more wealth and more assets. Laughlin Associates is always there to help answer our questions and help structure the things to keep our assets safe. Don't you want to keep everything you've worked for, whether it's your business, your real estate, your investments safe and sound from the folks out there trying to take you down a notch? Well, make sure you talk to the team over at Laughlin Associates. You can schedule a free phone call at 1-800-648-0966. That's 1-800-648-0966. Tell them that Scott Carson sent you, and they'll take good care of you. Or check them out at laughlinusa.com. That's laughlinusa.com. Trust me, that's one phone call, one meeting you will never regret.